Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max.
Welcome, everyone. We are the Geek Patrol, and our microphones don't have a stun setting. I'm Joe Thorderson, here with my friends Brandon Olmstead and Allan Gilbreth, and our buddy Max over there behind the glass, and not Alyssa Diggs. She's out. Is she on assignment, Brandon, or is she just
she has a visiting beau in town, so
yeah, she's going to be useless for the whole. Okay, fine.
When you have family visiting, you're useless too.
Actually, this works out really well though, because sitting in her place, keeping the seat warm, is our good buddy Sherry May from Live at the Garden, the co-director of Live at the Garden. And Sherry, it's been a while. We haven't talked to you in a while.
I know it has been a while, a couple of years, I think.
Well, this is your season. I mean, this time of year, folks, if you're new to Memphis, it behooves you to get over to some of the concerts at Live at the Garden. What a great venue. It's at the Botanical Gardens at the Radiance Theater, and it's evolved over the years. I remember the early days. The whole infrastructure over there is really expanded. It's really impressive.
Oh, yeah, everything's changed since our first season in 2001. We had that dome shell for like the first couple of years, and then we started bringing in a stage from Louisiana. They'd set it up in May, and then they'd come back and get it after the last concert, September every year. And then we built that permanent structure, and we opened it in 2014 with Little Big Town.
Oh, yeah. It's fun having Sherry in the house because we organize the Memphis Comic and Fantasy Convention. You're basically organizing an event that's outdoors, and so we have similar challenges and similar experiences that, make us kindred spirits. So a little later in the show, we're going to find out what's going on at Live at the Garden this year, some of the concerts, and maybe get some behind the scenes of the workings. But before that, you should also know that Sherry, like me, came of age in the 80s, and I believe it's fair to say you love the 80s, right? Like me.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
For my money, it's the best decade of the last century. Allan has different points of view. Allan you're not an 80s hater, but...
No, not an 80s hater.
So with that in mind, we gave you a homework assignment. We're not going to dive too deep because I know that next week, Alyssa really wants to talk about the Hulu show that came out, Bratz, the documentary.
She wants to talk about that, and she wants to talk about St. Elmo's Fire, which kind of scares me.
Has she ever seen it before? Because she's a younger generation.
This will be her first time watching it.
Okay, but Sherry, we're going to skim lightly, but I did want your take. We asked you to watch it. All of us have watched it, and I was curious about your take on Bratz that Andrew McCarthy hosted on Hulu.
Yeah, no, I did watch it, and it was very interesting. And yeah, at the end of the day, I thought he was being kind of whiny about it, so to be perfectly honest. So, I mean, yeah, everybody wanted to be part of the Brat Pack, and I don't know, it just didn't make sense to me. So
he was basically claiming, because this article came out in 1985, and that's where the term Brat Pack came from, and it was based on the Rat Pack.
All right.
Which is kind of a compliment.
Exactly. What did the Rat Pack mean? I really didn't know that with, Sammy Davis Jr. and
Frank
Dean
Sinatra
Martin and Frank.
right.
All right, what did that mean?
Okay, these were a group of guys who hung out together, made movies together, were tied to the mob together. They were not. I mean,
don't say that out loud, but yeah.
They did.
Yeah, that's true.
They did. I'm gonna say, when it comes down to it, that they were a group of at the time contemporary actors that everybody knew, everybody wanted to work with, but then they were also, well, by the time that they got coined as the Rat Pack, they were almost in their 40s. They were at that point of, I don't give a F to anything, So
that it wasn't offensive to them, and they didn't whine about it.
But it goes to show you it's that dynamic where you cannot give fame to young people because they're not mature enough to deal with the backlash or the criticism.
Yeah.
And and Andrew McCarthy shows through that whole documentary, he still hadn't grown past it.
No, he hasn't. He hasn't gotten over it.
Emilio's still offended by it.
Right.
Demi Moore, would probably, if she hadn't been going through treatment at the same time that all that was happening, she probably wouldn't have had the ability to handle it. She talked about being offended by it, but she was also going through treatment for sobriety at the same time all that was going on.
Right.
So she was already going through the therapy that's like going, you got to let that go. You got to find your strengths.
Yeah, but she did. She moved on to do other type of roles.
And Rob Lowe's just Rob Lowe. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I think that he's the kind of guy that if you threw an offensive title at him, he would embrace it
Yeah.
and make it something positive. That's just what
Oh,
he
he
does.
likes if you roast him. He enjoys that type of thing. But the way I was thinking of it too is like they took offense because it made them feel like they're entitled and elitist and spoiled. Well, they dealt with it by acting spoiled. And if you wanna silence the criticism, just go out and do some gritty, independent movie like people like. I mean, a lot of actors have done that.
Pick on Daniel Radcliffe now, who's done everything but be Harry Potter.
But that's one of those things, though. Back in the mid '80s, you couldn't just go. You know what? We're going to go just scrape some money together and do an indie film. You had to go through the studios.
Why not?
You couldn't. You weren't allowed to. You were under contract to studios.
Yeah, and there were so
And
many studios.
You did something outside of that. You got blackballed across the board.
Well, if you're a young, good-looking, aspiring actor, just follow the Robert Pattinson model. Do your quick Harry Potter and Twilight movies to get a paycheck, and then go do the gritty stuff to show your acting chops, and nobody will bother you.
Let's be honest. Water for Elephants was not gritty, but that showed the man had range.
The guy can act.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, definitely.
So you took it out because I was wondering if you would think that it was whiny too.
It was whiny, definitely whiny.
And
one of the things I think we can all agree with is that, I'm a little bit younger than you guys, but we all grew up through the '80s. We were the tail end of the Gen X kids, and everything. I think Andrew McCarthy was probably sheltered. I mean, he's a guy who got sent to acting school. He took, so I don't think he ever had the whole anybody who ever really told him boo about anything.
Yeah,
and it shows.
I think the life lesson, though, is just don't hold on to things and don't let it eat you. I mean, the fact that this could eat somebody up for 40 years, that's not healthy.
So what did you feel like at the end of it? Did you feel like he had made progress working through all this with talking to everyone that was part of it?
The main line I took out of that is somewhere in the documentary, he said his wife told him that this is probably going to be a very humbling experience for you. And I think I did see that. He's like, okay, it seems like I'm the only one that really cares about this.
Right.
And, because he kept bringing it up and trying to get a reaction from people. And like Rob Lowe, he's just laughing through the whole thing. Yeah, whatever, so letting it roll off.
Well,
but
it had to have worked because, according to Deadline, Sony's trying to, get them all together to do St. Elmo's Fire 2, where they're all in their 60s.
I think that's a mistake. But anyway, all right, well, that's what we have discussed. When we come back, though, it's going to be fun. We're going to talk to Sherry May all about Live at the Garden.
You're listening to Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max. If growing orcs in the backyard was easy, everyone would do it. The Geek Patrol is back.
Exactly. And welcome back to Geek Tank Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Brandon Olmstead and Allan Gilbreth and our buddy Max over there behind the glass. And sitting in for the vacationing, Alyssa Diggs, is our good buddy Sherry May, the co-director of Live at the Garden. One of the really just premier venues in town. If you want to see and if you want to go have an enjoyable concert experience under the stars, under the trees, and hopefully not under the rain.
Hopefully not.
Yeah, it's a great venue. If you've never been there, it's like a jewel of East Memphis, and it's grown. Sherry, I mean, you're responsible. 20, how many years of?
24.
Okay.
Our first concert was June 15th of 2001 with Isaac Hayes.
Yeah.
That was our very first show.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good old Isaac came through.
I think I
Memphis.
was at that one. It just suddenly hit me. I was going, wait a minute.
Were you really?
I was at that one.
That's back when we allowed Allan out in public.
It wasn't a full moon. It's all right.
When you played well with others.
Yeah, something like that. No, that was an awesome show.
It was. Remember, he had that gold lame
I'll say
on. He had
he could
dancers.
land planes by him.
I know.
I remember that outfit.
That was the very
my
first
goodness.
ones where it all started.
Sherry, I live in East. I literally live 4 blocks away from there, and you hear it. It's kind of interesting because it's an outdoor concert in the middle of a residential area, and you get this sort of residual party that kind of. It's neat, In fact, my daughter, I know she went and pirated one of your concerts by sitting on the lake on the other side.
Oh,
got
yeah.
to listen
A
to the
lot of
Steve
people
Miller
do.
Band.
And
So,
a lot of people in that neighborhood have like little parties in their backyard and stuff. So
yeah, just go out on your back patio,
Yeah.
get the grill, and you can listen to but it has evolved, and it's Radians. We have to thank the people at Radians.
yes,
right?
definitely. Yes, they really are great partners with us, and they bought the naming rights right before COVID. So in 2019, but they'll be the naming rights till 2029.
Oh, okay,
yeah, they'll have
cool.
the naming rights on the amphitheater until 2029.
I want to ask you. Okay, well, let's get this out of the way. Let's find out what's coming. We've already had one concert.
We did. We had Dierks Bentley in June. That was a great way to kick us off. We've got our next show will be the Goo Goo Dolls on July the 12th.
Okay.
Then we have John Fogerty. Opener is George Thorogood and the Destroyers for that show.
Wait a minute. You didn't tell me that.
I just did.
Now
You sort of buried
it's a
the lead.
scoop. It's a scoop. Yeah.
He's
so we haven't
warming
really.
up?
Yeah, he's the opener. Actually,
it
there's
sounds
three.
to me like it should be the other way around. I mean, or at least an even.
It's
So
a fair
actually,
fight,
it's three.
yeah.
It's 3 acts that night. Hardy Har is Fogerty's sons.
Right.
And they do kind of like a techno
Hardy
kind
Har.
of. Yeah, so they're the first act. George
Yeah.
Thorogood and the Destroyers, and then Fogerty. Yeah. So that'll be a
Okay.
big night. So that's August the 9th. Then we have country artist Sam Hunt on August the 23rd. And then to end the season, we'll have Styx and Foreigner on September the 20th.
Okay, which version of Styx? Because if you know anything about that band, you know there's a lot of infighting and a lot
yeah.
of.
It's
So
the
which
good one.
Yes, it's the good one.
are we
yes.
getting the soft feel good music singing about how you love your wife, or are we getting the hard rocking?
We're getting the hard rocking version of it.
So
definitely.
no Dennis DeYoung.
No, it's all Tommy Shaw and that side of Styx, definitely.
Is it okay to talk about the drama in that band?
Sure.
Well, you know, I guess, I mean, folks that don't know, they have creative differences. Let's just put it that
Right.
way.
They never liked each other.
Yeah.
But see, the problem was Dennis DeYoung founded the band. They came up on the south side of Chicago.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember watching them evolve. And but then he started to drift into this stuff where it's like, babe, I'm leaving, and all this didn't fit in with the whole hard rocker motif.
Yeah.
But he was also the founder, so it made it different. So.
But I liked all their songs. It didn't matter if it was the hard rocking one or the love songs. I still liked all their songs because I'm a kid of the 80s. So,
Oh, yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, I mean, they were great.
Well, all right, here's the fun part. It's one thing to see them on stage.
Yeah.
It is an entirely different animal to be the person that has to get them on
This
stage.
is true. This is true.
So you need to give us a couple of stories here real quick.
Well, just to that, the first thing that pops in my head is Daryl Hall and John Oates, who don't talk to each other. And
Is that true? They
didn't talk
Dude,
to each
that's
other.
something.
They each got off their buses. They got on stage. They did their deal. They walked off. They got in their buses. They never talked.
You got to be kidding me.
No.
Dude, that's still going on, and it's
Yeah.
documented today. At one point, John had to like put a restraining order on him because he was showing up at his house like just wanted to start a fight.
Yeah,
Really?
there was something going on there. Yeah,
And then then it like basically switched when John Oates realized nobody cared about him. He started doing the same thing to Daryl Hall, and now it's Daryl Hall who's got the restraining. You can
Yeah.
go watch that stuff. I've always found that fascinating how many bands make amazing music who can't stand each other.
I know.
The Who
Aha.
was that way for a while.
Aha is like that.
Yeah.
All 3 guys from Aha, they travel to the thing. They only converse while they're making music, and then they go their separate ways. Outside of hey, we're gonna get together and do a concert. That's all
Yeah.
they say to each other.
Yeah.
They don't hate each other actively like say Tommy
Well,
Shaw
and now
Dennis DeYoung
ZZ
do.
Top was kind of the same way, but they didn't hate each other.
Right.
They just each had their 3 buses, and they've done this so much they'd get off, they'd do it, and then they go back to their bus. But you could tell Hall and Oates didn't talk. So yeah,
I guess I understand it because if you do have creative differences and you have to play a song and in your mind you're like, I've played this 8 million times. I'm sick of it. I never liked it the first time, but
Right.
you got to be out there pretending. I guess that would
It's a
create
paycheck.
some bad vibes.
Yeah.
I have to ask, what in terms of like the chemistry between bandmates, what would you say has been the most amicable relationship that you've worked with?
Oh my gosh. I mean, so many. I mean, Little Big Town. The 4 of them are just as nice and sweet, and they're family. You know, you can tell
They're
when they're
just
on
having
the
a blast.
property.
Yeah.
They are. They're family. They have a blast. They have their kids with them. They'd run around the garden. Yeah. So I mean, I'm trying to think. I mean, all the country. I mean, they're just having a big old time. You know, them and their crews, they're having a great time. Darius Rucker's one of my favorite people. Him and his crew.
Oh,
they're
I'm glad to hear that because I like those
awesome
guys.
to work
Yeah.
with. They are so nice. So yeah, great people.
It's interesting because I'm just thinking of. I mean, maybe that's why U2 is just such a unique
I was just about
band.
to say that.
I mean, what band has ever continued with that level of success.
Yeah.
And they all seem to be friends still. And I mean, that in and of itself is.
Well, talking about
something.
documentaries, did y'all see the Bon Jovi one recently? Have y'all not seen that one?
I have not watched Slippery When
Okay,
Wet.
it's
No.
good because they're again 80s hair band.
Okay.
Bon Jovi, all about it. So y'all
All
have
right.
to watch that one. We'll critique that one.
We've got now Sherry's giving us a homework assignment.
There's your
Yep.
homework
All right.
assignment.
We're going to continue the conversation when we come back here on Geek Tank Radio.
You're listening to Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max. The Geek Patrol is back.
And welcome back to Geek Tank Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Brandon Olmsted and Allan Gilbreth and our buddy Max over there behind the glass. And in the house, sitting in for the vacationing Alyssa Diggs, is our good buddy Sherry May, co-director of Live at the Garden. We are in the thick of things, Sherry. We're in the middle of your concert season. We've given a rundown. We'll give a rundown a little later about the bands that you've got coming and how they can get tickets and all that good stuff. But it's interesting having you in the house because we're also event organizers, so it's always good to hear other people's behind-the-scenes stories. And I was thinking about it. You know, we were talking before the break about some of the dynamics in different bands where they might make great music, but they don't speak to each other,
Right.
or they. And I was just thinking about all the things you got to juggle. For one thing, you're juggling. It's an outdoor venue.
Yeah.
You have to work around weather. You have those things. You're working around big personalities like these performers. You're working around logistics and something that people are going to pay money and buy tickets for. And it's just a lot of elements. You wear a lot of hats.
Yeah, definitely. Weather girl is part of my job description too. Definitely, I'm really good at predicting the weather after
Really?
24 years of this.
Can you do that? Can you go outside and go, yeah, it could be sunny, but nope, in a few hours it's raining.
I mean, yes, knock on something wood. Yeah, we've been able to call it, accurately most of the time. Yeah, we have. So when we've had to delay the gates or whatever, but Memphis is a really interesting weather town from what I have found out because things can hit that bluff. They're coming towards us and it hits the bluff, and a lot of times things will break up and dissipate. And that's our best friend right where we're located at the Garden because it's done that. I can't tell you how many times we would see something coming, it hit the bluff, and it just kind of went poof. And so it was like, okay, show's on, let's go. So, yeah.
We've seen that. You're downtown on the river and it's pouring rain, and then you call your friend in Germantown and it's sunny. And it's like,
So it's crazy.
But you've had some horror stories. You've had some. We always like to hear the worst stories and then some of the good ones. But and I want to say one other thing. I don't know if we're allowed to name this artist on the air. You're also dealing with people that have different work ethics. Let's just call it that. Or okay, there was a performer I happen to know.
Okay.
All the bandmates were there. You told us about it.
Oh, gosh.
They're all ready to go. They were there for the sound check, and the lead singer was hanging out at a bar.
Bond?
Yes.
yeah.
I was going to say, this sounds like a Duran
A
Duran story.
Duran story. I watched that documentary recently too.
That's
y'all.
a good one.
It's
Now
a
that
great
one I highly recommend.
Yes,
on
I
Netflix,
watched that one
I
too.
think.
Yeah, it's really good. But yes, Simon could not be bothered because he was down at the bar, I think at the Madison that time. And our guy, our runner, was out there calling, going, I can't get Simon from the bar. So after many choice words later, Simon got in the car and came and did his deal. It was fantastic.
I was at that concert, and you would never know. As an audience member, I had no clue, but I was just thinking of the behind-the-scenes drama. You're like, but some people, that's how they prepare. Everybody
and he
prepares
was
differently.
as professional as he could be. He got there on time, but he gave everybody a heart attack for sure. So, yeah.
I wouldn't like that. That's high maintenance. So
Al Green's kind of done that to us too. The last time Al was there, which I don't know when that was, probably 2015, but he waited to the very last minute to get there too. So we were all like going, "Oh my God, where is he? Where is he?"
one other thing you're just making me think of, and I don't know if I should do this on the air, but I'm going to ask
Totally
you:
do.
Do your bands release their playlist beforehand?
I know it, yes, before.
But they don't release it to the public,
Oh,
right?
no.
That's what because Roger Daltrey came out. That is one dynamic in the modern era that I do not like. I don't want to go to a concert and go, okay, this is the list of this is when I'll go to the bathroom because I don't care about that. I want to be surprised.
Right.
Roger Daltrey went on a tirade about that. He said, this needs to stop. And I'm glad to hear that your bands don't do that.
Yeah,
So.
no, they don't release it. So, I mean, I have it just because I know how the show's going. but all my crew does. But yeah, they don't really sit out.
Okay. You got any good stories for us?
Oh my God, I'm trying to think.
I like the horror story. Give us the bad stories first. Didn't you have a weather incident that was pretty noteworthy?
We have had one rain out in 24 years, over 125 concerts, and it was a Doobie Brothers, a sold out show in 2023.
Wow.
And that was just one of those days to where it just kept building and building and building. It didn't break up. Earlier in the day wasn't that bad, and it just built. Crazy weather turn. And we just knew that, it was getting closer and closer. And it did. We held gates and we let everybody in. But we have monitors on top of that stage. And if we have lightning within 10 miles, we have to clear the park.
By law, right?
Yes. Yeah. And by law, it's a little bit closer than that. But our rules are 10 miles.
Okay.
Yeah, because we've got everybody out in the open field. And, it's just like, 10 miles, we've got to get everybody, at least get them to their cars safely and all of that. So that's our one rain out that we have ever had. And like I said, over 125 concerts. And then they came back. They were so cool. We rebooked them for the next year. So then we had them last August.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, so I thought there was another really good horror story, but when we come back, we also want you to have positive stories about why people would want to come to this. But it's interesting because I'm even looking at the dates. I wonder if there are weather patterns that help you select your dates, or is that more just about scheduling?
We don't select dates. So what happens is performers, they want to go out, they stack offers, they see their offers, and then they start routing. So I get the call. It's like, Sherry, we can play August the 9th in Memphis. Take it or leave it.
Okay.
And that's the call. So I don't get to pick dates. They know I want Fridays and Saturdays in Memphis. We did Dierks Bentley on a Thursday this year. Very rare. We've probably done 3 or 4 Thursday night concerts in 24 years. But that's and ironically, all the shows ended up on a Friday this year, except the Dierks, which has never happened either. Usually I've got a combination of Fridays and Saturdays, but this year every call I got was Friday night. August 23rd is when we can do it. September 20th when we can do it. Yeah.
It's interesting because now that you're saying this, I think we all sort of reference weather patterns around different events. I'm just thinking of the Cooper Young Festival. We know it's in September. We know it's going to be 95 degrees.
Oh, yeah.
And it's probably going to threaten rain, and then it's going to clear up, right? I mean, doesn't it literally do that every year?
Or it'll be a really calm and serene morning, and we'll get done doing whatever we need to do at the tent, whether it's you guys doing Tool Talk, us recording Geek Tank. Boom, rain hits then.
Yeah, it's very predictable for such an unpredictable weather system.
Right.
All right, now we've got some cool stories when we come back here on Geek Tank Radio.
You're listening to Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max. The Geek Patrol is back.
Gods, leave us.
And welcome back to Geek Tank Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Brandon Olmstead and Allan Gilbreth, and our buddy Max over there behind the glass, and our friend Sherry May, co-director of Live at the Garden. We are in the middle of it, folks. If you're new to Memphis, if you've never heard of Live at the Garden, the great concert series, it takes place pretty much in the summer into early fall. Sherry's in charge of this all. She's the one behind the scenes making it happen, and with help.
Yes,
but
definitely.
You've seen the evolution of this. You've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. But Sherry, I think it'd be good for people listening that maybe aren't familiar with it. What is the experience for? It's different experiences too, because depending on where you sit.
Exactly. So there's all kinds of experiences at Live at the Garden, but that's the whole thing. It's an experience. It's not just a concert. You can go, you can buy a forum ticket, you can do whatever, but it is an experience at Live at the Garden. We've got 3,000 people seated at tables, and then we have room for another 4,500 on the lawn. You can bring anything you want to eat or drink in, cooler, your lawn chair, your blanket, anything you want. If you don't want to bring anything, we've got plenty of food trucks and bars on site. We even have a couple of caterers that are pre-orders where you can just order it, pick it up when you get there, take it to your table or take it to your picnic spot. So we try to make it as easy as we can. To my knowledge, I don't know of another venue that does this, because F&B, food and beverage, is a lot of money for people. For people to make in the concert business. Even though if you gave a ticket away, they're going to probably spend $30 or $40 on food and beverage. We just don't do that. That's always been the charm of Live at the Garden. It's what set us apart, made us different from everybody else, and I think that's why people embraced it and keep coming.
It to me, the experience is it's a outdoor. It's like the ultimate outdoor garden party because it's real cozy. You walk around and you want to get there early. You don't want to just show up 5 minutes before the show. You want to absorb the ambiance, and I guarantee if you live in the Mid-South, you're going to meet about 50 people there.
Yes, definitely.
In a different context. It's always fun seeing the buttoned up, business person from the bank suddenly there in their concert T-shirt.
Yeah, right. You don't see anybody buttoned up at Live at the Garden.
Right.
You have people with their shorts and fans for sure. But but it's just a different experience for everybody.
And it's usually a lot of what I always appreciate is events that cater to different generations getting together and celebrating. I always like events like that, and based on the bands you pick and the experience, you see families there. You see,
absolutely,
teenagers. You see older people.
I saw kids, like little kids at Dirks Bentley even. But it's just, we always said it was for a music lover. It's not necessarily a country music lover or a classic rock lover or R&B lover. We try to mix it up, mix genres, and people so we've got 3,800 ticket between season lawn and season table holders. Then they don't even know the lineup. They just know it's going to be really good and entertaining. So some years it works out better. This year we couldn't get an R&B artist. I mean, I must have put 12 offers out. So we don't have R&B on the lineup this year, but we always try to. Earth, Wind, and Fire, Lionel Richie. So whoever it might be. But yeah.
Lionel, that was a big one, wasn't it?
It was a big one. It was the biggest, actually, up until. Wait, let's see. That may have been the most I've ever spent ever on anybody was Lionel Richie.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah.
Who warmed up for who though? Because they're both headliners.
They weren't together. They were at the Earth, Wind, and Fire and Lionel were together at the Forum a few weeks ago. But that was like a big, big, big ticket item there. And I'm like, no, I just need one. And so we just couldn't work it out this year.
What's interesting, you just mentioned the Forum. And, a typical concert event, it's more about they're all seats. But depending on where you're at, your seat is either on the main floor or it's up in the balcony. But it's a seat.
Right.
But what's different about Live at the Garden is you have tables, you have the lawn where people might be sitting on blankets with a picnic. And then you have, what do you call that in the front where everybody can dance? The pit is what I like.
The pit's awesome.
It's worth the extra, folks, if you can, it's worth the extra money, in my opinion, to get in the pit.
Without a doubt. And it's such a hidden secret. I mean, people don't really know about the pit, but the people that know about it, they get that pit pass every year because it's great because it's like a lawn ticket, but with access to the pit. So you can still go back and forth to the lawn and your cooler or whatever, but then you've got up front, and the entertainers love having the pit there.
Oh, yeah.
Because they interact so great.
You feel like you're a VIP, too, though, but you literally, you have it, there's a walkway. You walk past all the other schlubs that are there in their blanket, and you go right up front, and literally, my wife and I went and saw the Culture Club with the B-52s. I mean, you could not beat, I'm an 80s guy, and literally, Boy George is 20 feet away. Yeah. It was cool. And it's a whole different experience when you're up close.
One of the nicest guys ever. And you wouldn't.
I wanted to ask you about that.
You would have thought he would have been like real standoffish. He was just so warm and talkative and funny. Yeah, just totally didn't expect that from him.
You know what I learned about Boy George? We did an interview with Lowell Tolhurst, who's a founder of the band The Cure. They came up together in the same music scene. They said Boy George is he's actually very tough. He's a boxer. He can handle himself in a situation.
Really?
Yeah, they said don't mess with Boy George.
I was just mad because his makeup looked better than mine did that night. So I was like, dang it.
Hey, Sherry, for people tuning in, can you give us the rundown again of who's coming and how they get tickets?
Yeah, definitely. So. All right. So our next show is July the 12th, Friday, July 12th with the Goo Goo Dolls. Then we've got August the 9th, John Fogerty with George Thorogood and the Destroyers. Wow. August 23rd is country crooner Sam Hunt. And actually, he's got a new opening band. They're called Ryan and Rory, and they just dropped music about a month ago, and the highway's blowing them up. They're really, really good. So that'll be a great show if you're into country music. And then we'll end this year, September 20th, with Styx and Foreigner.
That's
and John Waite's opening that show, too. Y'all remember
Thanks for leaving all that stuff
John
out.
Waite? Remember John Waite? He's opening that show.
Is this going to be like a 4-hour concert?
It could be, yes. The
It
game-
sounds
yeah.
like a long.
It starts at 7:30. We normally start at 8, but that show starts at 7:30.
Yeah, that sounds like a big evening. And Sherry, if you've got a fault, it sounds like you bury the lead quite a bit. You didn't even mention that in our build-up for. But
Well, a lot of that hadn't been announced yet, so we're coming back out with the openers. Yeah.
and ticket. Did you tell us?
No,
where
I
to
did
get
not.
tickets?
You can get them at Ticketmaster.com. If you have any questions, just go to liveatthegarden.com.
Well, Sherry, it's great having you back in, and we need to get this. We need to get you back on the schedule to get back in here regularly. But it's been
Definitely.
It's been great visiting, but it's time to get out of here, you guys. So until next week, we are the Geek Patrol, and I am Joe Thorderson.
And I'm Sherry May.
I'm Allan Gilbreth.
I'm Maximilian.
And I am Brandon Olmsted, reminding you to avoid Joe in the pit when George Thorogood goes on stage.